What's up, guys? Today we are diving the #1 shore dive location in the United States, and that is Phil Foster's Park, Blue Heron Bridge. And this is such a cool dive, so many pretty fish, and just a lot to do in the area. So we decided to make a whole weekend out of it. After we dove, we went and visited the Loggerhead Marine Life Center. Really cool, but let's get into it. It's about 3 hours for us to get over to West Palm, so we decided to stay on the beach, make sure we were all rested up. We took about a 20-minute walk down the beach and we found all of this trash. Now when we get to the Marine Life Center here after the dive, you'll see why it's so important to pick up all of this trash and try and keep it as clean as possible. The amount of trash on the beach was absolutely crazy, but the reason we're down here is to meet our local dive shop for a great dive. We ended up getting to the park around 7 a.m. Now it was a weekend in the summer, so we needed to be there extra early. It's important to get in the water about 30 minutes before high tide, and you're going to notice that that current is still super strong. So we just got in, floated, blew some bubbles, and looked at some of the marine life that was hanging out with us, like this barracuda here. He was the first one to greet us down there, and shortly after him, we found a ton of different fish. We got in the water on the west side of the park near the big bridge and started heading east, and this is one of 3 sunken boats that's down there. This thing's covered in coral, a lot of little fish, and there is a long spine sea urchin in here. Leave a comment down below if you can find it. We swam around this longer than I'd like to admit, but right after we finished, we found these shark sculptures, and they're so cool. They lead you in the direction of the swimming path. There's 3 of these guys, and they're covered in coral and fish, and it's just a gorgeous sight to look at. We got some really cool pictures behind those. Just off of those, we found this little hogfish kind of just hanging out, looking for some stuff in the sand. As I hung around him, he ended up getting a cool camo pattern on him, and just awesome to see these guys out in the water. Since this is such a well-known spot and it's so shallow, really anyone can do it. You can snorkel or scuba dive on it. None of these fish are really afraid of you. Actually, I saw a ton of life on this that I don't see on other reefs, just because of how comfortable everything is. Overall, my favorite part of this dive is how many colors are out the entire time. You're in less than 10-foot majority of this dive, so all these reds and blues and yellows pop to where you really don't even need a flashlight. But always recommend bringing one, because there is something in every single hole that you look into. Just don't stick your hand into holes. We'll see why here just in a second. Here's the second sunken boat we came to. Now this is to the east of the first one, because we were moving east towards the small bridge. This one's really cool because it actually has its steering wheel in it, so we took some cool pictures driving the boat. We didn't spend too much time here, but we found these giant sheep's head. I thought this guy was swimming solo for a minute until I turned around and found his entire family hanging out by a rock, and they were all absolute monsters. These guys knew they had absolutely nothing to worry about, and they were so cool to swim with. The pictures don't do justice with how big these guys actually are. I have no idea what kind of fish these guys are, so if you know, leave it down below, because I always want to learn what everything is. And here is the exact reason you want a flashlight. This banded coral shrimp was hanging out in this rock hole here, and there is a ton of them on the reef. These French angelfish were so cool. I ended up seeing them a few times on the reef, and just absolutely gorgeous. Now I told you not to stick your hand in any holes, and here is the reason. I was chasing this Gatsby grouper. I had no idea that eel was in there. I'm glad that was just my camera that was down there. The eel didn't really do too much. This Gatsby grouper wasn't happy that I was there though. In all, we were in the water for about 1 hour and 45 minutes in just a great dive. We had so much fun and, of course, worked up an appetite. We went to this place called Nature Way Cafe, about 10 minutes away from the dive site, and had some awesome sandwiches, and then finally made it to the Loggerhead Marine Life Center. This place is 100% free to get in and run on donations, and they have a really cool gift shop if you wanted to buy something to help contribute. all these turtles are in for different reasons. I tried to get a video of all the plaques of why they're there. It just didn't work out because there's so many turtles. This is Dwight though. Pause to read his info. This fish tank was basically a recap of all the fish we'd already seen, so we get to see them all over again. But one thing we didn't see in the water was a nurse shark, so I'm glad that we got to see him here. Now most of the turtles here are going to be rehabilitated and released, but this guy had a cracked shell and lost one of his legs, so he will probably be a permanent residence there. When you walk inside, they do have some really cool fish tanks as far as the lionfish tank, and then they have an example of why you need to pick up your trash. This entire art mural that was made out of plastic pieces that were found, and there's just so much here. I mean, as you get closer, you can see all the small bits of detail, the plastic bottles, and really everything that was used to make it. After spending this time in West Palm Beach, I see why this is the #1 shore dive in the United States. Phil Foster's Park, Blue Heron Bridge, so much to see, and there is a lot to do in the area when you aren't diving. Thanks for watching. If you like this kind of content, make sure you like, subscribe, and I will see you next time.